All right, everybody. Good morning. Trying to change the speaker view so it'll show us here and not, I have Michelle as the speaker view, so I need to fix that. 1 second. Check, check, check. I don't know why it's showing Michelle, but I'm going to pin. Oh, I can pin me. That's right. That's right. I knew that. Pin. There we go. All right, everybody. I got to duck down because Dilara is so short. See? So forgive me. So I'm super happy to have Dilara here to teach us about listings. For those that don't know, I've been in Dilara's life for over 4 years now and watched her grow up as a real estate agent. So I'm very proud that she is now taking the next step and teaching and helping and giving back to all the times that I helped her. No, I'm just kidding. No, just giving back on a high level. I'm very proud. I was proud yesterday. She taught the ALC a little bit about leverage, and now she's going to teach us about listings. But before we do that, I'm going to call Jack up from 123 Junk. He brought us lunch today, everybody.
Keep it short and sweet today. So we're going to talk about some junk. Anybody know? Right, perfect. Well, my name is Jack Brandt. I'm a client relationship executive with 123 Junk. Just from that name, I'm sure many of you can guess what we do. But just in case anyone's unfamiliar, what 123 Junk does is go into commercial or residential properties. We will come out for just one single item. We'll go climbing through hoarding houses, everything in between. Our goal is to help your clients clear out their listings as soon as possible. So what I wanted to touch on today is a couple different differentiating factors about 123 Junk. As many of you are aware, we're not the only junk removal business in the industry, but there's a couple of things I want to touch on that makes us different from the pack. The first is our donation process. Our priority is always to donate as much as possible from every job. We work with Habitat for Humanity. We work with a wider circle and a variety of other charitable partners to give back to our community while also keeping items out of the landfill. Another aspect I'd like to touch on today is the quality of our staff. If anybody in this room has worked with our staff before, you understand the quality. You can understand the quality of employees we bring onto our crews. We like to hire guys who can communicate on site, act in a personal manner, and also provide that personal touch. You know, go the extra mile. We want your clients to be like, wow, where did you find this group of guys? And then last but not least, one last thing I'd like to touch on is my role as your rep. So if anybody in this room is interested in getting customized coupons, actually you get 10% off every single one of our pickups for being a part of Keller Williams. So let me know, reach out to me. I have my cards, my contact information over there. If you're also interested in setting up community events or interested in anybody in the transition industry, from movers to home stagers, professional organizers, give me a shout. But I'll stick around to the end of the meeting, take some questions, but thank you so much. I'll kick it over to Laura. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks, Jack.
Appreciate it.
And one thing before we go about guys like Jack, you don't never know you need him till you need him. So the best thing to do is put his number in your phone now and don't call me at 9 o'clock on a Sunday and say, who was that guy that was talking at Dilara's thing? Can I have his number? Right? Yeah. Put him in there, Jack Junk, and then you'll know, right? So just,
hey, Jack, that's awful.
I was in your shoes before, so I always know your clients need something right when they need it, and they need it right away. So always have that number in your phone. All right. Without further ado, I'll let Dilara take over. Thank you, Dilara.
Yeah. Good morning, everyone. So I know most of you, but I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Dilara Wentz. I am a military spouse. I have a son. He's beautiful. He's 7, and he's very fun right now. I've been in real estate for about, I just hit 4 years. I own and operate the Valiant Group here in the Northern Virginia, DC area. I'm hyper local to Stafford, Virginia. I actually hardly work past Woodbridge, but I do come up here all the time for you guys. And I'm all the way down to Spotsylvania, out to Culpeper. I own and operate a team with Sherry as one of my agents of 5 people right now, soon to be 7. So we did 62 units last year. We're at 36 units this year. We're about 22 million in volume. Half of that are listings. So I'm almost about 50-50% right now as far as listings taken and buyers closed. So I want to talk to you guys today about listings. Who has a listing presentation? Yeah. Who doesn't have a listing presentation? And that's okay. So having a listing presentation is really, really important. But the biggest thing I want to focus on first is your pre-listing appointment or phone consultation, right? Who does a phone consultation? What does your phone consultation look like?
Just a questionnaire.
What kind of questions?
One of the first questions is they're going to be interviewing any other agents, or am I the only one? Tell me basically roughly where they think they wanted to price it at, or what do they think they want to get for the house? What's the lowest that they will accept? Tell me about the house before I go on the appointment. I understand what kind of home they have, updates, amount of bedrooms, bathrooms, so on and so forth. It's easier if it's, in a text record, you can just go back in and check, but not all.
Okay.
If it's like an original owner, hasn't been sold in a long time. What else? Give them, ask for the scale, like on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate your house?
Sure.
And then ask
Okay.
them if I can send them a pre-listing packet.
So we're gonna see if they're interviewing other agents, right? Why do we do that? Why do we want to ask
I want to know if you're competing with anybody.
if you have competition? But you should always think you have competition, right? You just kind of want to know what your competition is going to be. I don't need to know who you're interviewing, but how many other agents are you interviewing, right? Because I want to be the first one in the door and I want to be the last one in the door, right? I don't want them to even get to the other agents. So we're going to ask, who you're interviewing as far as how many other agents goes. You're going to ask them about their motivation, right? So you can go in why they're moving, right? Yeah. And then we're going to talk to them about their house, right? They're going to tell you all the beautiful things about their house, or they're going to tell you all the bad things about their house, right? So at least when you go into the consultation, you know what you're walking into. Do you guys take notes on that? Are you writing as you're talking? What's one thing we don't do? We don't take a phone consultation in the car, right? Unless you're willing to pull over on 95 and write it down real quick. But you are not going to remember. If I can't remember, no one's going to remember, right? So you want to make sure you're always taking phone calls and consultations while you're not in the car. We have busy schedules, we have families and everything like that. But if somebody contacts you and says, hey, can we talk, right? Sure, absolutely. I'm available between 1 and 2. Does that work for you? If they're like, oh, no, right? Okay, I'm available at 3:30. Does that work for you? Yes. Awesome, right? You're going to honor your schedule, respect your schedule, as well as their time, right? This isn't I can talk right now. Do you have this in your hand, right? Do you have your checklist in your hand? No, right then and there, unless you're in the office, right? So you always want to make sure that you have enough time and that you're fully prepared to talk to those people and have notes to make sure that you know how to go into a listing appointment, right? During your phone consultation, motivation is probably the biggest thing, and price, especially in today's market, right? Because everyone's like, houses are selling so fast. Well, they're not anymore, right? It's very house to house driven right now. That's one thing we want to make sure that we tell them, right? So you want to basically, you never want to under deliver, right? You want to always over deliver. So under promise, over deliver, right? So I just had a phone consultation with a guy. He's in Florida. He lives in my neighborhood, and he asked me, hey, so we want to sell our house. Cool. Why do you want to sell your house? Well, we want to move to West Palm Beach back with family. Okay, great, awesome. Is there any questions I can answer for you off the bat? Well, I was wondering how much you think my house is worth. Well, with current market conditions, I'm going to have to see the house, right? Because I don't know what upgrades you have. All these builders put certain different upgrades in their house, and you might have espresso cabinets and the white cabinet thing is in, so we might want to take that into account. I have to see your backyard size, because for my neighborhood, that's really important, because some people have a backyard and some people don't have a backyard. So do you know your backyard square footage kind of thing, so we can, so I'm going through the list. Great. So a lot of houses in the neighborhood, time on market went from 5 days to 14 days in the last 2 weeks, right? So I would just say that I'm going to see the house, and you and I are going to come to a compromise as far as price, but I really have to see the house first. Is that okay? Yeah, I understand that. Great. I'm not going to give them a range on the phone, because what happens is they're going to talk to another agent. That agent's going to say, I can totally sell your house for $750, right? And then I'm like, I didn't give him a price, so you don't want to meet with me now, right? So definitely make sure not to give pricing over the phone on your pre-consultation. So phone consultation, or even Facebook, or however they're communicating with you, make sure not to give them that. What's another mistake that people make during phone consultations? What do you think?
Talk about the commission.
Talk about the commission. So I have not provided enough value on the phone yet, right? In order for them to even have that conversation with me, right? They don't know what I'm going to offer them. They have not met me in person, right? And sometimes that's the biggest thing. Somebody wants to have a face-to-face conversation. And then, I mean, nobody's going to talk about commission on the phone except for Redfin, right? Because they post it all over the internet. Don't give it to them. Don't talk about it. When we sit down, I will create a marketing plan for you. Yes, Drew.
I was gonna ask you how you, they ask you on the phone how you handle it, sorry.
No, you're good. So somebody asked me, what's your commission? Well, look, my team and I provide a ton of value for you, and every house is different. So I want to make sure I can see your home first so we can come up with a plan to how to get your house sold as quickly as possible for the most amount of money, right? Some people need staging. They need to fill in the little holes. You may not need that. Your property might be fantastic and we might want to get a drone for it, but no two houses are alike. So when we sit down, I want to make sure that you understand the value that we can provide. And that's when we'll talk about commission. Easy peasy. Yes.
Yeah, because dominant people, they just have two questions and they don't want you to talk
Yep.
over the phone. How much are you selling it for and what's your commission? And then they keep saying no talking. So like,
Yeah,
you know, there needs to be something.
Right.
about-
so that brings me to my next point. So why do we want to hear people on the phone? Why do we want to talk to them?
To find out if
You
they're
get there,
dominant.
Who has not heard of DISC? Okay, so the DISC assessment is basically what personality type you're dealing with, right? So I'm a high D and a high I. My C sucks, and that's why I hired an admin. Like, it's just the way it is. I don't do paperwork. I don't follow checklists. Like, it's just not my thing. I don't enjoy doing it. So I hired somebody to do it for me. So I'm a high D and a high I, which means I like to chat and I like to get to the point, right? So when you're on the phone with people, you need to have this in front of you. You need to write it out somewhere and circle which one you think you're talking to. Now, I will say, be careful and do not assume that that's the personality you're going to meet with, right? Has anybody met with somebody and you're like, this person's totally going to be a dominant personality, and then all of a sudden they're like a C? Have you ever done that? Or like you think they're a C and they're high I, right? Their I is actually higher than their C, and then you're like, wow, you actually really like to talk to me, right?
What do they stand for?
Yeah, so D is going to be more of a dominant personality. The dominant personality types are going to control the conversation. They want to have the conversation. They don't want anybody else to talk. You're going to answer their questions and you're not going to fill in the holes, right? Those are the people you sit back, you let them talk, you let them ask the questions and everything like that. And I is more of your chatty Cathy, right? Like, I'm a chatty Cathy.
What's I stand for?
I think it's I need to look that up actually. I only know what it is, but yeah, it's like an influence type. So they're more likely to have like that conversation and talk about their family and things like that. S, they say, are like standard people, right? They just like go with the flow. They don't need to like be taught.
Dominant,
Influence.
steady.
There you go. Yeah, so I call it standard because they're like just the regular people, like, you know, they're just there to know. They're like, yeah, this sounds great. Awesome. Yeah, right. This sounds great. Like, awesome. And then your C are your type A people. They need the checklist. They have a ton of questions. Why does this happen? When we do it? Everything like that, right? So we need to make sure that you know who you're talking to. When I go into a listing appointment, I take the same stuff with me to every listing appointment. It doesn't matter personality type, but I can also gauge what personality type they are and then point them to my listing presentation as to what's going to work for them, right? So we'll get to it, but my C's, I have a checklist actually in the back of my listing presentation. And I say every transaction is different, but at least this is going to give you the outline. And when we hit those steps, you can check it off your list. And underneath it, it has a definition as to what that is. If you have any questions at any point in time about it, always ask me. There's no question too small. No questions too stupid, right? Just go ahead and pick up the phone and call me if you have a question about it. But at least this will give you a good idea. So that's going to be awesome for my C's because it has a definition and it's something they can check off their list, right? Cool. So before you get to the listing appointment, does anybody have a pre-listing packet? So you need a pre-listing packet. If you don't have one, So let's see, 1, 2, 3 people out of the entire room had a pre-listing packet. That just gives you a good idea as to how many agents don't have one, right? So that's going to put you above everyone else. Before COVID, we were delivering our listing packets to the door. Now I send it in an email once I have a phone consultation. It's a PDF and it has everything in it that I'm going to also, not everything, but almost everything I'm going to bring to my appointment anyways. I'm just going to bring it printed out. So I'll send over the pre-listing packet. I put a video in there saying, hey, thanks so much for reaching out, Kyle. I have sent you, and it's attached to this email, our pre-listing packet. Go ahead and look it over. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out or bring your questions to our listing appointment. Please make sure that I'm here for any questions, and I'll see you Monday at 3. And we just attach it to the email and send it along. Any questions about that?
Yeah, the video.
Mhm.
That's very interesting.
Yeah.
That you put for your scenes or in general?
No, so it's gonna give like the I's and the S and the C's more of a face-to-face.
Oh, okay.
So I got that from an agent, actually. You guys, education is so important right now. Rip off and duplicate, please do it. Like, that's my whole business. Literally, somebody had a great idea and I just implemented it. So I'm not reinventing the wheel. But you can actually make the video on Canva. You upload it to Canva. You can put like a little thing next to it that says thank you. The video is in one box and just attach it to your email. And the reason they say that is because now they know you, right? I've already talked to them on the phone. Now they can see my face to face. And now when I show up, it's like they already know me.
How did you send it? Did you send it through email or you do like?
Through
online?
email. So I do it through email, through Canva. You can upload it into your email and it'll pop up. And then I attach my pre-listing packet to it. And in the description, I say, hey, there's a video down below and the pre-listing packet. You know, please take a minute to look at the video and pre-listing packet. I'm working on the video portion because I just went through a class and now there's like some guy who had a great one. So we'll go from there. Any other questions about that? The biggest thing is like having the face-to-face, right? Because you show up at the door, knock, knock, hi, you've already seen me, besides my pretty picture that looks nothing like me, right? I mean, really, I'm like way more blonde in my picture. I think I'm like something like this, right? not like this, but in my video, we're like this.
Hey, Lauren, in your pre-listing packet, are you, you're staying away from any kind of neighborhood comps and everything?
Correct.
The
So this is my seller guide that we share.
I want to watch the video.
Yeah, I can pull one up here in a minute. Did you pull up the right one? Nope, wrong one. Hold on, guys. I thought I clicked on the right one. There we go. Okay, so this is our pre-listing packet. We have, this is actually a picture of a house that I sold. So I actually went on Etsy, found this, and put my own stuff in it.
There you go. Jen.
Took me all of 30 minutes. Yeah. And it's actually from a super successful agent down in Florida. So, and we just put in our stuff. The second page is an introduction as to why they use me.
Repeat what you just said about what was it that you?
Etsy.com.
Etsy.com.
Etsy.com. ETSY.com.
You just bought it there?
You
Yep.
have to buy it. It's like
It's a buy.
the download that you'll buy.
It cost me like $15.
That's okay.
And then,
Wow.
Like seller.
yep, seller guide. Stevie Hahn, if you've ever followed her on Instagram, she has over, I think, 25,000 followers. Stevie Hahn.
And she didn't like North or South Carolina?
No, she's in Florida. Yeah, she's in Florida and her team and her, she's basically almost the only producing agent on her team. And she did like 150 transactions last year. And she gets most of her stuff off of Instagram. But she's very open. She has a YouTube channel as to her listing presentation and things like that. And she has this uploaded. So all I did was just plug and play. So $15 later, I think it was a good investment.
So she sent you an editable version.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff is PDF. and it's like-
Yeah, so this is actually editable in Canva. So you upload it in Canva and then put in your own stuff. So I did have just my picture here, and then I went through a class, again, education, education, education. Thank you for being here. I had just my profile picture because I get a lot of my clients off of Facebook, so I thought like maybe because of recognition. And then I took a class and they said they want you to be genuine. So what's going to put you above the next agent is that you have a picture of your family and the other agent doesn't. They have their full headshot, right? The arms crossed.
Oh, good point.
I have one of those.
Kind of like the buyer love letters.
Correct. Yeah. So they're saying that being more personable, right? So what I'm in front of you right now, this is what I wear in my listing appointment. If somebody doesn't want to work with me because I don't wear red soles, I don't want to work with you either. So, right? So be yourself. Be yourself. You never want to put on a front. Because the thing is if I show up on a Saturday, in my yoga pants, it's not too different than this, right? Like I'm not going to look like a completely different person. But if I'm taking booties over, right, and I'm like, hey, sorry, I just came to the gym, right? They're like, oh, it's fine, you know, because it's me. That's me. I show up, right? This is how I show up. So, but this is what we send. It's just reading material. So I tell them like, you know, read through it. It's got a contents page. We talk about our mission, our core values. If you don't know what your mission, vision, and core values are, you need to figure them out because I just figured them out. And trust me, it helps. When they know what you're working towards and for, they're more likely to hire you. So we talk about our core values, how we're honest, we hold ourselves to integrity. We're continually improving. I tell people, and we'll get to that in the end, but I always tell people, I'm always looking for feedback. How can I improve for you? How can I improve myself for the next experience, right? And people super appreciate that, right? Because I ain't perfect, right? I don't think anybody's perfect. Sometimes we think some big agents are perfect, and they ain't, right? So it has some statistics in it. 90% of people sold with real estate agents last year, discussing your home, things we're going to talk about. And I'll have Drew can send this out. I'm willing to share. So talk about CMAs, how we factor in the value of your home and everything like that. So this is what they're just going to read. And you know what? These people, they ain't going to read it, right? But I gave it to them.
You said they skimmed over.
Yeah. These people read every 3 lines. They did not read the whole thing because I can tell you this is me. I read a book. I only look at the talking points in the book, and that's all I'm reading in there, right? And so that's the same thing. They're going to read the checklist probably. That's about it. So we talk about how it's going to go to Zillow, Redfin. You know, every agent can give you that once it goes in the MLS, and that's one of my, you know, going back forth points when we're talking about commission, right? Every agent is going to give you this. Our website will, you know, display it. Zillow will display it. Redfin will display it. But you know what? Every agent's going to put in the MLS. It's going to go to those things anyways. But let me tell you how we differ from that, right? Then we talk about scheduling photos and video, everything like that. So everything that's in this, we touch on if they want to touch on it. Because these people, they have their own questions. They don't care. They actually don't care what I'm going to talk about either. So we'll talk about how I deal with high Ds.
So one of the things, Dilara, like, do you put all the different potential marketing that you might do, even though that's another thing, it's like we have a whole suite of things we can do.
Yep.
But when we get to the meeting, you're going to discuss like what level they want, right?
Yeah. So we actually do our commission a little different now, and I'll get to that. So, but I talk about their homework, like getting their home ready. These are the things that they need. So seller warranty, totally optional. We're going to go over that. You know, hey, I've got a great American home warranty for you, because when you go to sell, for some reason it's an omen, the microwave will break, the hot water heater will explode. I don't know, right? But at least you have a seller warranty and it's going to cover you. So, and then we talk about collecting any documents that they have, surveys and things like that. So I make sure that they know who everybody is. So I got my cherry down here. I have Lindsay, my client care coordinator, and the reason why I put their faces on here too is because Lindsay is going to drop off the lockbox, the sign, and the booties. So I want them to know what she looks like, right? Summer's our transaction coordinator. She's going to pop it up in their email from contract to close. I don't. So at least when they see her signature block and this is her picture, they know exactly who that is. And Lexi, she's here at the tab. She's my operations manager. She takes over when I'm on vacation. So she'll call the client and fill in for me. So I never want them to be like, I'm sorry, who is this? Right? I want them to know and see the faces. So we put all their stuff in there. And then welcome to the family. So when I'm in a listing consultation and I've got like my credibility and stuff, because you know, we all pay for the $25 MVR thing. So that's about what we're sending over. And like I said, I'll have Drew send it out so you guys can see. And then we'll go step by step. So my consultation, hi guys, I'm gonna stop sharing this. Let me see if they have questions real quick. Stevie Hahn, Michelle, she asked, what is the name of the agent?
H-U-N?
STEVIEHAHN. HAHN. Cool. It's my consultation, right? I show up for the day of the listing appointment. I got my coffee already drank, make sure my breath smells good, right? Because it's like the worst thing, you show up, you don't have any gum in the car to like really put chew in your mouth just to get the coffee breath to go away. I have a water bottle because I want to make sure that I have my stuff with me. Now, if they offer you something, you take it. Okay, good. So we know that. That's like a known rule. Make sure like, oh no, I'm good.
I'm not thirsty.
No. You take the glass of water. Even if I have my bottle of water with me, you're gonna take that glass of water or juice or whatever it is. I had one client one time, she gave me a date and I was like, yeah, I'll take that. I know I don't like dates. So she made these like date treats and I was like, that's fine. I will, yes, I will take that. Thank you so much. Right? For sure. But make sure that you know who you're dealing with, right? So we're in a high military area, right? Does anybody know what military says about being on time?
If you're on time, you're late.
Early's on time, on time is late.
Correct. How early is early?
How early?
20 minutes is early.
20 minutes is early.
Yeah.
How early is on time?
10 minutes? Is that
About
fine?
10 minutes, yeah.
Plenty of time.
Yep, about 10 minutes. 5 minutes is still kind of cutting it close.
But there's certain people are like, well, why are you here so early? You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Everything's gonna come back to this, you guys. Like, you don't assume, but as you're in the house talking to them, this is gonna come up, right? And you're constantly thinking about it in the back of your mind. So I'm at the house, right? I've got the thing that I just showed you with a checklist, and then I've got comps with me, and I've got my water in hand, and I'm ready. Right? Does anybody else have anything additional that they bring to a listing appointment?
Yeah.
What do you bring?
notepad
You bring a notepad.
yeah, and the contract. I don't bring a laptop.
Yeah, so I bring my laptop. I'm a little bit different. I don't like handwritten stuff.
I need to be plugged in, so.
Oh, well, there you go. Maybe it's
Once
time
I
to get
get
a
a
new
new-
laptop.
Once I get a new laptop, hopefully. in another
She said
2
it needs to be plugged in and that's why she doesn't bring it with her.
Shoot, there's no outlet.
Yeah. So I show up, I've got my stuff in my hand. I actually don't have a notepad. I actually have one piece of paper that I bring that has the conveyances and stuff on it because when I'm going through the house with them, I want to make sure that, you know, I'm checking off the list as we go, like hit the laundry room. Oh, hey, is the washer and dryer staying? No. Okay, cool. Right. I'm also going to take notes of the exterior of the house. When I get there 10 minutes early, I'm already going to be outside. I'm going to be looking at the house, writing down if it needs to be pressure washed, if it needs this, if it needs
Wood
that,
wrap,
needs some
anything.
flowers. Yeah.
Missing shutters.
So a lot of times when you go to the environment, do they ask you, you know, the quality, like, they come up with all these like construction
Yeah,
names that I don't know, but I
Okay.
know that look stupid, right?
I'll get
I'll
to that in a second.
And they ask you, do you know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you said, yes, I do.
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll get to that in a second. So you show up for the listing appointment, you say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I am here. I am ready for you, right? You know, may I come in? Absolutely. Come on in, right? At the door, whoever opens the door. So this was a good point yesterday. Somebody had asked me, so what happens if you only have a phone consultation with the wife? And the husband is the total opposite. I think we can all guess that the other spouse is gonna be the complete opposite. My husband and I are the complete opposite, you know, so we'll just take a wild turkey guess and just say they may be the complete opposite. Now, if they're the ones opening the door, you kind of feel it, right? So like they open the door, oh yes, hi, come on in, you know, or oh hi, yeah, my name is, right? You kind of feel it out. Okay. So we're on-
What do you
Yeah.
want?
Yeah, exactly.
Who are you?
Or they're like really confused, right? Staring at you. So this is gonna come into play. So now you have to feel out the other party, right? So awesome, great. Thanks so much. I'm so excited to be here. Where would you guys like to sit down and talk? right? Oh, we'll go into the dining room. Great. So we go into the dining room. Before we sit down, do you mind if we go around the house? And of course, there's some small talk going on if they're a high I, right? You're like, oh my gosh, I love your house. Oh, this is so pretty. Make sure to compliment something, at least something, right? Oh, wow, the ceilings are so high. Or, oh my gosh, you have crown molding, right? Or something, right? Or your family's so cute, right? Just something.
Or something.
Something. Compliment to convert. Compliment to convert.
People love hearing compliments.
Yeah. So we go.
So you ask them, where would you like to sit?
Yep.
You don't tell them.
What's more
I
awkward?
normally tell them.
What's more awkward? Yeah. So yeah, I really like your house, and
Normally I say, do you mind if you sit on the
No, 'cause
kitchen table?
I'm gonna pick where they're comfortable. Where they're comfortable to have a
If you
conversation.
the choice on the couch, that is a total disaster now. Like
For
you're
who?
sitting there, I want sitting here, I want them to have like face-to-face close by.
So you're gonna notice,
Mhm.
okay, when you walk in and somebody wants to sit at the table, more than likely they have questions written down. Right? They have a piece of paper, something with them, they already know what they want to ask, and they're gonna write down, they're gonna take notes. Right? Your dominant personality probably may not sit, right? They're not interested. They want to get their questions answered, be done with the conversation, no more than 30 minutes, right? High eyes, they want to show you all the house. They want to show you the whole thing. They want to tell you where that scratch came from, why there's a leak over there, daughters, whatever those new plush toys are, all those things, right? They want to show you the entire house. So this is the biggest thing to come back to because of that.
So what happens in like the element, right?
Mhm.
They say, you ask where we like to sit down there, and then I go.
So most of the time they say, would you like to look through the house first before we decide to where to sit? Yeah. And you say, okay, sounds good. Do you mind if I put my stuff down right here? Awesome. So,
Hey, Dilara, to add to your compliment to convert, so interestingly, the very first listing appointment I ever went to where I shadowed someone,
mhm,
you know, and then she was a DC mostly agent, so she was like, you know, you can take the client, but I'll go with you and you can
Sure.
see what I do. She didn't do the compliment to convert, and like I did, and it was interesting because in her mind, it was all about devaluing the home and
Yeah.
lowering the price expectations.
sure.
But she was so focused on that,
Yeah.
she never built rapport with the actual person.
Yeah, and
And it
sometimes
was interesting.
these can be hard to build rapport with, right? Because they're very shut off. They don't want to have a conversation. They just want to get to the point and get over, right? Like just get it over with. So with D's, I always ask them what they do for work, right? Because then it like they want to talk about themselves. I mean, they want to talk about themselves, right? Like, so, hey, what do you do for work, right? Where do you work? I just go into that conversation and it slowly pulls some stuff. They love to talk about what they do for work most of the time, right? That's why they're a high D, because sometimes they're business owners, this, that, and the other thing, right? And they want to talk about it. So I always ask them, like, what do you do for work as we're walking through the house? You know, how far are you driving right now? Those kind of things. Like, so easy, simple questions that aren't like too mushy gushy. They're, you know, not far in depth of Susie's soccer game and stuff like that. So, but yeah, so once they give me the okay and we're gonna start walking through the house, I say, look, is it okay if we just walk through the house and you just give me like a simple overview? I said, I want to look at the house from the point of a buyer, if I were to bring a buyer into the home, right? So I don't want you to point out too many things to me. I'm going to take my eye and see what I would see as a buyer's agent, because we do help a lot of buyers. So I'm telling them I'm very educated on the buyer side. We work with a lot of buyers. And, you know, and then afterwards we can kind of get to what you think might be worrisome as far as selling the house, right? Is that okay? Most of the time they're like, sure. And we walk through the house and then, you know, one door after another. And again, compliment to convert. Oh my gosh, I love the accent wall, right? Or have you thought about, you know, this, right? So I want to talk about, this looks great. You know, would you be open to getting the carpets cleaned or something if there's a stain? You know, Susie's Play-Doh, and she'll tell you all about the story about Susie's Play-Doh in her room. Oh yeah, I came in one day and she just had it all over the floor, you know, those kind of things. Those are high I personalities. You want to keep them distracted from telling you any of the really bad stuff, because they're going to tell you all the stuff.
Yeah.
Right. So Once we go downstairs and we're ready to sit down again, I said, great. So the only things that I found walking through your house is this, this, and this, right? I really wouldn't be too concerned about anything else. Do you guys have any concerns? And sometimes they'll be like, oh, the carpet in the basement is dirty, or, you know, this or that, right? You're like, great. You know, we can chat about that later. So once we've done the walkthrough and everything, yes.
You mentioned that you'll tell them if you see a stain or like super old carpet or whatever, you ask them if they will be open to it.
Yeah,
You
so
wouldn't say, I would suggest.
I would ask them if they'd be open to it. Would you be open to replacing the carpet? Not, you know, I really think you get more money if we replace the carpet. That's actually a conversation during pricing, right? So if they want to overprice, it'd be like, okay, you know, if we list at $550, even though I'm saying $5,399, right? $399. I think maybe we should get the carpets clean or get the carpets replaced. Would you be okay with that? Well, no. Okay, well, then I really would suggest that we list at 539, right? So that's a conversation. So you always have to either write it down to have it as a point to come back to, or have that conversation, you know, if you can remember it, but make sure you remember it.
Now, at that point, Dilara, do you also get into, now could you point out some of the things, or you wait till like kind of at the end to like what you've replaced and what you've updated and what you.
So that's during my pricing portion. So I'll sit down and say, the house looks great, right? What have you done since you moved in? And then I'll write that down. If I haven't already asked during the phone consultation, but your phone consultation should be when you know that, but we'll just reiterate. So on the phone, you told me that you had crown molding, you know, put in, that you had the carpets replaced in 2019. The bathroom was updated. Gorgeous bathroom, by the way. Like, I walked into one the other day, it was tile-coated marble all through. I was like, hey,
Nice.
you spent a lot of money in there, right? And nowhere else in the house. Like, literally, it was just the master bathroom. I was like, you can leave any funds left over
That's
after that. Yeah. So, but just trying to see, like, you know, what they did, because they'll be proud of it, right? Like the wife, especially if she's like a high eye and she loves Pinterest, she'd be like, I put in the barn door, right? And you're like, that's so nice. And it's like crooked. Right? Like, just saying. They're like, awesome. You know,
be open to fixing?
yeah, would you be open to maybe leveling it out a little bit? I can bring handyman in, it'll be fine. Maybe you just had a hard time lifting the door a little bit. I don't know. So yeah, so we'll sit down and we'll talk about, you know, it depends, right? So if I have a high eye, we've already talked about everything under the sun, their family, why they're moving, those kind of things. Like, as that walk happened, I've already hit on these points, right? So upstairs, they'll be like, oh my gosh, your house is so pretty. Why are you guys wanting to move again? Right? Oh, we want to move to Florida, be with family, right? All of that. So I've already gotten that out of them. So if it is somebody else, right, I'll be like, great, on the phone, you told me that you want to move to Florida, right? What's your time frame look like? And they're like, we want to be out of here in the next 90 days. Great, so we need to move on this, right? So are you guys willing to put in the work? Absolutely. Awesome. So if you have somebody who's like, what work? Like, right? They're like, well, we just talked about it, right? We walked through the house and I said, maybe you need some carpet. Would you guys be open to doing the carpet real fast? I got a great contractor to come on in. I'll give you a great price and we'll get this house sold, right? So you're just hitting on the boxes. The biggest thing for me is making sure I'm not making them uncomfortable, right? So when we, you know, are having the conversation about listing their house, I say, look, I differ from other agents because you become a part of my family. So I'm going to take care of you like family. You become a part of the Valiant Group family. Not only will we take care of you during this transaction, when you leave, we will still be sending you stuff. We will still be touching base with you. And when you come back, if you come back, we'll be here for you, right? So you become a part of our family, which is why I say welcome to the family on my presentation. So they kind of already know what I'm talking about on my pre-listing packet. You become part of our family. So I want to make sure that I take care of you like family. Is that okay? And for these people, that's awesome, right? They feel comfortable. You're like, okay, great. So let's address the next thing, price. What are you guys thinking as far as price? Well, we want to list at $699. Okay, how'd you come up with that price? Well, Zillow said that my house is worth, right? I mean, it's every single comment. Redfin said my house is worth. Okay, great. Have you actually looked at the houses in your neighborhood that are selling? Well, I saw one down the street and there was a sign in the yard, and all of a sudden there was a sold sign. Okay, do you know what the inside of the house looked like? No, we just go on our walks and go past it. Do you think it's the same floor plan as yours? No, I don't know. I've never been inside of it, so I wouldn't know, right? Okay, cool. So I actually looked up that property. It's about 500 square feet larger than yours, has an additional bathroom and another half bath, or a bedroom and another half bath.
But my upgrades are nicer than that house.
Right. So I'm going, right. So I'm going to show you some pictures, right? And let's talk about it. So I show them photos, and this is why I bring my laptop, because I don't want to print off and kill trees, right? I always tell them that. I don't like killing trees, so I'm gonna pull out my laptop. Is that okay? Sure. So I'll pull it up and I'll show them photos. And I have different tabs open for all the ones, because I'll download the pictures first, because say you go to somewhere you don't have reception.
That's what I was just about
Okay,
to ask.
that's
Thank
what,
you,
yeah.
because I'm like, can I get you by 5 hours?
Yeah.
Let me cut a
No.
hot dog on, you know,
So I
later.
download the PDF from the MLS and I keep them open. And so that way I'm like, hey, this is 123 Happy Street. They had upgrades all throughout. So how do you think your home compares? You never tell them how their home compares until after they compare it, right? So they're like, oh, well, I have a better bathroom. Okay, sure. Sounds good. But they don't have any carpet, right? And so then, and this is really important, and you might want to do an appraisal class again, because that's actually what helped me. An appraiser is not going to care about the marble upgrade in the bathroom, unfortunately. Right? So, and I always bring it back to a story. Like, I had a house for sale, and they had upgrades to the nine, right? It looked like something out of Pinterest. And the appraiser docked them $10,000 from the house down the street, because the house down the street didn't have carpet in all the bedrooms. And it sold for $10,000 less than that house because of carpet. Even though they had a more upgraded bathroom, they had a more upgraded kitchen in our eyes, right? Because they had a white cabinet, granite countertop kitchen, right? And so they're like, oh, this is beautiful. The other one down the street, it wasn't as pretty. It was older, right? It wasn't as Pinterest-like, but it did. It sold, our house sold for less than the house down the street due to carpet because of the appraiser.
So would it be fair to say when you're talking about an appraiser then, because obviously consumers' impression will also drive price up, but when you're talking about appraiser, would it be fair to say that they're looking more at what level of upgrades, like a builder grade house that has carpet and
Yep.
linoleum versus a house that's been upgraded to granite and hardwood? But they're not looking at like,
Yeah.
if you spent 50 grand on granite
Right.
for you, but
So I always tell people, appraisers are looking at square footage, bed count, bathroom count, if you have a fence or a deck, because they actually include that now. And that's it. And then maybe to what their taste is, they'll add in some money for upgrades.
Yeah, they don't take account, walkout basements
Nope.
either.
Yeah, so it doesn't matter if you have a way to get out of your basement or not, they don't account for that.
What about kitchen cabinets?
Mhm.
Does it make a big difference? If you
No.
have Like nice original, but the upgrade, like, I guess, $100.
Nope, they do not care.
Not on the appraisal.
Yep.
Consumer.
And I always tell them, I say consumer wise, obviously, I said the best thing that we could do is list for X, right? So like just under, and then drive up enough interest that somebody's willing to give you that upgrade if it doesn't appraise, right? So they're willing to bring that $5,000 or $10,000 to the table if it doesn't end up. And our argument to the buyer's agent would be, hey, the appraiser didn't even take into account how many upgrades are into this house. My client just spent $50,000 on the kitchen. Would your client be willing to make up the difference? And right now we're still seeing that, right? So they're willing to bring a little extra cash to the table still in order to get in the house they want, because inventory is still low. There's nothing on the market still, right? People just aren't jumping the gun and buying whatever right now. When a nice house comes on the market that's been done to the nines, it tends to go relatively quickly still, right? Is anybody else seeing that?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's the conversation to have. If we list appropriately, the market will dictate what we're going to sell for. You can never underprice a house. You can always overprice a house, right? That's what I use. So, thanks. You're welcome. Yeah, so when we're talking about price, there's obviously going to be objection. Thank you to Redfin and Zillow. They're always going to give us that objection, like, well, you're lower than Redfin, saying, okay. I said, did you know that Redfin has a computer that makes that number, not somebody who actually looks at the houses, you know, house to house to house.
I asked my clients, have you ever seen the Zillow guy come to your house?
Yeah, that's a good one. Actually, I might steal that. Yeah.
So, one time, like, someone asked, like, if we priced it low, wouldn't they think there's something wrong with my house?
Why would they think something's wrong with your house?
Because you priced it like low.
Too low?
Neighbors not in your house.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Sarah? That means that I need to market your house better, right? I need to take better video. I need to take better photos so people can actually see that nothing is wrong with your home,
Okay.
right? My description needs to dictate how beautiful your house is.
So
Yeah.
just come it to you, so
Yeah.
how you market it.
Yeah, because I'm going to do that work, right? Whereas other real estate agents aren't going to.
Yeah.
Right? So if we don't have anybody coming through the house, then I've done something wrong. If we price it right, you know, those kind of things, then there's something that I may have done, you know, and I'll take that blame. My promise to you is that I'm going to get your house sold for the most amount of money as quickly as possible. We have to agree upon the price, but per my marketing plan, we should be able to get this sold within the amount of days on market that the neighborhood is seeing. Right? So I mean, I'll totally take the blame, right?
Do you ever say that you were listed at this, but you should get this?
No,
Okay.
no, especially not in an ever-changing market right now, because our market today is different from last week,
Much slower.
right?
Yeah.
So, and then the feds are like, we're gonna raise interest rates again. Okay, you know, so no, don't ever, you never promise, right? Because what happens, so in my pricing appointment, I'll say, hey, so I want to list your house at 499. The reason why I want to do that is because the market's going to dictate, you know, where your house is actually supposed to be at. Right? You got all the upgrades. You're better than the house down the street that just sold. The problem is that the market is changing, right? And we don't know what the market is today. Nobody can guess. Nobody can predict. So I want to make sure that, are you happy at 499? If I get you an offer and a well-qualified buyer for 499, would you take it? Would you be happy with 499? If they say no, great. What number are you happy with getting for your house?
So. I don't know.
515, right? 515? Okay, sounds good. Now, I can list it for 515. If we don't get an offer within 2 weeks, one open house, Saturday and Sunday, and we don't get an offer within 2 weeks, because the average days on market is 14 days, would you be willing to lower it? Would you promise that we could lower it to 499?
Nope.
No? Okay. How can I help you get your house sold for the most amount of money? What do you think we can add to your house to add the value?
What are we adding on? I love it.
Add something.
What are we adding onto your house to get you 515?
So you're flipping the script
Mhm.
away from the pricing drop conversation.
Right, because I've already talked about
How we're
square
gonna bump
footage.
the value.
Right.
That down.
I've already talked about square footage. I've already talked about the bedroom and bathroom count, what an appraiser is going to take into account. They have a deck and a fence. Cool. It's like $10,000 on an appraisal, right? What else are we adding to your house to get you 515? Because I already told you 499, right? And the market will dictate. You know, if we go on market 499, you get one or two offers. Cool. We get you like 505, 510.
What do you say? What else? Or how can I help you add more value?
Yeah. So I'll ask them, how do we add? What do we add? What do we add in order to get you 515? What can we add to the house to get you
I
515?
wrote what you said. You said, what else are we adding to your home to get you 515? And it's like y'all are a team then.
Yeah,
What else are we adding?
we adding. How can I bring somebody in here to have you spend a little bit more money to get you more?
Get in the class now.
My job. Okay. No, but I mean, really, right? Because you've already explained to them, I'm the expert. I just told you what your house could list for and what we should list for, right? I'm roughly in your realm of what you want to get, right? But your house isn't worth 515 in the condition that it is now. Now, if it is, the market's going to dictate that, right? We're going to get a bunch of showings. We're going to have people come through the open house, 1 or 2, 3 offers, maybe, right? And I had that conversation. I had a listing appointment like that. They said, I really want to get 525 for my house. I said, well, we should list at 499, right? Would you be happy at 499? No. Okay. So what can we add in upgrades that won't cost you as much, but will get you more? What do you think?
What do you say?
It was a kitchen.
So they did the kitchen.
They painted the cabinets, put in new granite countertops, and we got them $535.
What did you list it at?
$499. I won that argument. So they did the kitchen, and I told them, I said, if you do the kitchen, there's a house down the street that compares and sold for $525. So if you do the kitchen, the market will dictate. So would you be happy at $499 though? And they said, no, I won't. Okay, if I do a net sheet for you right now, and I show you that you're gonna net the same amount of money that you told me over the phone that you really wanted to net, right? Because I had asked them, they said they were moving. I said, what do you need to net in order to move comfortably? And they said, we need X. Okay, if I do you a net sheet right now, that includes commissions and roughly about what the title fees are gonna be for you and the taxes and blah, blah, right? And it shows that even if you spent another $6,000, right? Like $3,000 on the granite, and then have labor and all that for the counter or for the cabinets. If you net the same amount that you told me over the phone, would you do the kitchen and list for $499? Sure. I had 11 showings. This was 2 weeks ago. I had 11 showings and I got 4 offers on the house. And we just appraised at $535. So now they're netting more.
How do you win that argument that, okay, I'm putting $6,000 more
Mhm.
and I'm still listed at 499?
Because because they told me they wanted to net $78,000. And I did it for them, and it showed them that even if they spent $6,000, and I always put a buffer in my net sheet of $1,000 for miscellaneous stuff, they were still walking away with $78,000. It was actually like 79 something.
And then on the sales price of that, on the net sheet, you get that.
$499. So I put in my price and I said, okay, so with the $6,000 spend, it's X. And I said, okay. And I said, and I put that at a sales price of $499. And they were like, what? Because they don't know what they don't know.
So you need to get 70, walk away with that 70,000, you got 35,000.
Correct.
Well, less.
Yeah.
A little bit more.
Now they got more. But it's all about educating them, right? They don't know what they don't know. All they see is like, okay, online, it says my rough spending is like 6% plus X, and then my taxes, and then this, that, and the other thing. And people are like, what's capital gains? And, blah, 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 and all that jazz, right? Simple. Universal Title has a net sheet that you can use. That's all I use is Universal Title's net sheet. And I just plug in the numbers while I'm at my listing appointment, and I say, this is your net. And you always want to do that too, by the way, CYA. You need to do it. Always do a net sheet.
We'll get Shannon to teach the seller net sheet.
Yeah.
Class.
Looking at
She's a resource in between time. Like if you need help, reach out to Shannon right here.
right there.
I'm like, which Shannon?
Shannon Cabot, the seller net sheet.
But yeah, so that takes care of my pricing argument with them, not an argument, conversation.
So before even your pricing, the suggestion, you say you're the expert, you suggest, but before you do that, when you take them through the CMA,
Mhm.
you ask them how, the price they are thinking, right?
So before the CMA,
This is all before the CMA?
so before the CMA, I say, what would you like to get for your home?
Yeah, and then you take them through,
I don't take them through all the comps.
okay.
I just have them with
I
me.
do that, and then by the time they
Yeah.
have
So
570, by the time that I'm done with the comp and make them ready.
yeah,
And then it's like they're deflated. It's
Yeah.
like, oh.
So-
Yeah.
for people on Zoom. So really the question is, so do you take them through every step of the CMA in order to show why you're going to price the house at what you want, right? Pretty much. No, everything you take with you is a tool, right?
Okay.
And when you're, okay, but back to this, when you're an agent and you are one of these, it's really hard to get away from that, right? Because you want to use it as your checklist,
Mhm.
right? You want to make sure you're hitting the boxes.
Mhm.
So it's not necessary for these people, not really even for this person sometimes, right? It's necessary for these people, but not so much for these people, right? Because they're going to have questions, they're going to ask them, they want to know why things are happening, those kind of things. Everything you bring with you is simply a tool. It is actually a way for you to have like a counter argument, right? A rebuttal
So,
to the people.
Dilara, what does that conversation look like? Only because right now we're in that transition.
Mhm.
How's that conversation shifted? Because the comps and this is what the house up the street sold for.
Mhm.
It was sold in May
Mhm.
and it closed in June.
Mhm.
That's completely different from something you're listing today.
So the biggest thing is education, right? So, hey, interest rates back in May were around 3.5%. Today they're 5. Do you guys know what the difference is in mortgage for that at a house for 500,000?
I mean, it's 20% less of buying power.
It's a lot, right? So we literally eliminated 20% of people from your buying pool.
Yep.
From your house price, right? So you have to, that's how I do it, right? So we're not gonna take 20% off the list price, but we're gonna add more days on market, right? Because it's just the way that it is. And then we're also gonna talk about a price reduction if it doesn't sell within the next 14 days.
So I guess, Laura, I wanted to go back to your comps, because I'm not sure if I'm following. You said.
Do you want me to go through it real quick?
Yeah, because you said you bring your computer and you actually show them the comps.
Yep.
I've done that. I had to drop it because those appointments were 2.5 hours. I'm like,
Yeah.
I cannot sit through this.
So-
And they were arguing, well, our floors are
Yeah.
nicer, and just like,
So these
nobody
are-
cares.
These are usually the people who are like, I spent that money and I want that money back.
Yep.
Right? Like,
That's right.
that's all it is.
Every dollar per dollar.
Right. And I'll say,
Well, and you spent your money poorly.
I won't tell them that.
Yeah.
I won't say that.
Dollar for dollar return.
Yeah, so I won't say that. However, for these people, I say, look, I completely understand how much money you spent on your house. Unfortunately, an appraiser is not going to care. And so we always have to bring the appraiser into the equation, right? I can send, so when I have an appraisal, I send over an appraisal packet and I show them all the upgrades you made to the house, all the beautiful features of your home, and I tell them why your house is better than the house down the street. They can take that and throw it out the window. They may not even look at it. They may actually get upset that I'm telling them how to do their job. So we need to take those things into account. I understand your floors are better, you know, and I'm like, in my house, I would put your floors in there, right? Because I like them. If I was coming through your home, I would buy your house because of your floors, right? But unfortunately, an appraiser is not going to use it toward their dictation of how much your house is worth. It's just the way that it is.
So what about the question, I've had this a few times from people. Well, you know, what if we price it at $499 and we don't get any offers higher than that?
Sure.
I think that's the biggest concern I saw when I first started one of the listing presentations, and I was trying to do that price conversation and get them realistic.
Yeah.
That question would come up and we talk about how the market will dictate what your house.
Mhm.
But if they said, I wouldn't take $499, my concern is we list it at that, that's all we're gonna get.
Well, then the house is overpriced.
Yep.
It's as simple as that. They might get upset about it, but the thing is you always have to rebuttal with facts, right? So I'll go into a price reduction conversation. I'll say, hey, showings are down about 5% from last week and the week before, right? It means not a lot of people are out looking for houses. It means less people are out putting in offers. So we might want to talk about just doing at least like a 5 to 10% or $5,000 to $10,000 drop, just to get it refreshed into people's MLS feed, because that's what all the realtors have their clients on, right? And on Zillow and things like that, it will pop up in the morning that we did a price reduction, and now they can revisit your home if they haven't already. So, and you guys, the biggest thing with your clients is to be fully honest with them. The market is changing, right? I can't tell you where the market is going. I can show you that showings are down from last week and the week prior, and they may even be down this week. It may not even be an even playing field from what it was last week, right? When the Fed say we're gonna raise interest rates again, it's gonna go down again. There's gonna be less people looking at houses. We may list your house for this, and in a perfect world, you'll get 1 or 2 offers, we'll get a little bit over list price, and you guys will walk away happy campers, right? But worst case scenario, what are we gonna do? What's the plan, right? 2 weeks on the market, we may talk about a price reduction. Are you okay with that? If they say no, then you go back to the motivation. You told me that you wanted to be in Florida in 90 days. So what's the plan? Are you gonna rent it out? Are you gonna take it off the market? No, I'm not gonna do that. Okay, so if we do a $5,000 decrease of price, is that gonna make or break the bank? No, it's okay. Right, it's just setting an expectation, being honest with them, setting the expectation, right? So the biggest thing is just make sure they're comfortable, setting an expectation. You're gonna under promise.
Over the leather.
Thank you. Over deliver, because then you look like a superhero, right? And they're gonna be like, I'm gonna put your reviews in there. And when they don't, you gotta remind them.
Yeah.
So I'm just going back to like, so you're sitting down there, you're talking to them about, talking to them about like showing the pictures, right?
Mhm.
Talking to them about the price. You're really not showing them the content data unless they.
No, so we're gonna talk about price first, right? And I'm gonna be like, what do you think we should price it at? And if he's like 515, I'm like, cool, that's kind of what I thought it was gonna be anyways, right? There's no reason to go to the comps at that point. It's a tool. Like, you don't need to show them the comps if you guys are on the same page as far as what you're gonna list.
So
the
you're
house
only
for.
showing them the comps if they're wanting
Objective.
more than what you
It's an
thought.
objective. So like, if somebody says, well, I think I should get $10,000 more because that's what I spent on X, right? And I'm like, okay, well, the reason why I got there is because of the house down the street. It matches your house like almost perfectly, especially in my neighborhood. You guys, if you've ever been to Embry Mill, like those houses are all the same. Like there's this house and there's 500 other ones of that model, right? But they all have different upgrades. So you say, I pulled this comp and this was the most comparable to your house, except they don't have the nice floors. But remember, appraisers aren't going to take into account, or they might, right? Like you have nicer floors, but then that's cool because you might get a little bit more. And then the appraiser is going to say, yeah, that matches because you have $5,000 upgraded flooring. Maybe. I said, unfortunately, appraisers are still very subjective. Like they're not supposed to be. They're all trained the same way. They get their certifications the same way, but they're still very, very subjective. So, and we can't do anything about it. I said, I can fight after we get, if we get it in and it's low, I can definitely fight it. But so VA actually, by the way, you guys, they're getting really, not to put down VA, but we just had an appraisal come back where the appraiser got investigated because he didn't use any condo comps, even though mine is a townhome. And so they rescinded the original appraisal and then sent out a new lower appraisal. So just think about that. So our condo is actually like a townhome condo, and he only used townhomes, but none of them are in a condo association. So his appraisal got flagged, and then they rescinded the original appraisal. It's for Corinne's house, and then sent over a lower one. There's only $5,000 off. I mean, the seller's willing to take it, but
They also just need to change, we also just, change where the pest inspection used to
can
have
be
to
paid for the buyer. Yeah.
Right, like.
The WDI can be paid for by the buyer if you're
On the
using
VA?
VA. Yep.
About time.
Yeah, they just,
Repairs
Yep.
that need to be done.
And lender required repairs, right?
Right.
yep. So, yeah, for VA, you can do, so if your buyer really wants the house, seller doesn't want to fix anything, buyer's allowed to fix it now. And then for WDI, the buyer's allowed to pay for it now.
Is that like already?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So on the contract now, we can check.
Buyer pays
Instead
for
of
it.
always having to do paid by seller.
Yep.
or VA, Now we can check.
I have a copy of the letter if you want.
When did it happen?
Like 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, because it really recently.
Yeah.
Like I just, the end of last week got the actual letter.
Yeah. Okay, so we agree on a price, right? Go ahead.
If they agree to the 2-week reduction, is there something that you meet with them, so they know what is it that the price that you recommended versus the price that they want to be to?
So like if I said, hey, I think we should list at $499, we're listing at $515 instead.
Yeah.
I'll leave a net sheet.
Okay.
I'll leave a net sheet so they know what it looks like.
That conversation.
Remember when we talked about your house payment?
I did put it on the con, I did put it in as a note. I don't know if that's right.
You can say an agreement, in 2 weeks that will lower the price to X. I always like to just have the conversation again, like I'll leave a net sheet so they know exactly what the net worth is, but yeah.
You did the net sheet there at the appointment.
Universal Titles app is super easy. I don't know if y'all have ever used it, but you just plug it in and play. And then you can literally email it directly from the website to their email. So like, what's your email again? And then you'll have it too. So we've agreed upon a price. And I said, great. When can you do photos? When do you think you'll be ready for photos? And they say, I think I'll be ready Tuesday at 3 o'clock. Awesome. I schedule the photos right then and there. And so you can get on certain websites. So we use Regarde for our photographers, and they do a 3D Matterport walkthrough and everything like that. I always ask them, when do you have an hour for them to come in, take photos, 3D walkthrough. We'll also get a floor plan drafted up through that. I can do Tuesday at 2. Cool. So I text my assistant, but you guys would get on the website because that's what I used to do. I used to get on the website right then and there, and I would schedule the photos. Right.
Before all that, I think I'm missing something or was I asleep? No, seriously, let's say
Yeah.
that, I think.
Usually the
your,
prices are, yeah.
Your presentation is, I think, they already create a rapport and then let's say you call feasible expired.
Yeah.
Now you have to show them your value.
Yeah.
Where do you show them that? Now you're already done. Like, if we're talking about the picture, you got it, they signed.
Yeah.
Let's
So you know what happens when you say, okay, when can we get photos done? Wait, I didn't say I was gonna work with you.
Okay.
Right? If somebody's like, no, I didn't say I was gonna work with you.
If they
Oh,
say
oh,
that.
oh, I'm
they
sorry.
don't see value yet in
Right.
what value
That's what
brings.
it brings about.
What questions can I answer for you, that we could walk away with an agreement signed today? Oh, well, I need X, or I want to still interview other agents. What question have I not answered for you that would, help us get into this transaction? Help me sell your home.
And then at goal, you remember to say, beside X, what else would it be,
Yeah.
Other than that.
other than that?
Other than
you
that.
know? So that's really important.
Yeah. Other than that, is there anything else that I can answer for you that would prevent us from signing an agreement today?
Or when you go through your listing presentation at the house, and you got up to this point and you asked that, how often has that entire presentation demonstrated your value in a way? So
Yeah. So you said, how often does my entire presentation actually add the value where I've already gotten the listing? So I've only had an objection probably twice by that point, where somebody's like, whoa, I didn't say I was going to use you. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, right? I just got so excited. I really wanted to list your house. So what questions can I answer for you? So that way we can walk away today with an agreement and sign, and I could get your house listed so you're out of here in 90 days. Right? And they're like, oh, well, I think somebody else had mentioned that they were going to do a drone thing and stuff. Oh, we can do that. If you'd like me to do that, I can definitely do that for you. Right? Is there anything else? Well, not really. Right? So if they bring up commission, right? Because I don't bring up commission. Did you notice I didn't bring up commission?
Yeah, I was thinking about like.
I don't bring up commission until they bring up commission, right? Some people are so worried. Like, how many people? Okay, let me ask this: who has sat in a listing appointment and the whole time you're sitting there, you're like, they're going to bring up commission, they're going to bring up commission, they're going to bring up commission.
They will bring up a commission if that's what you're saying.
Yeah, like it's in your gut, right? You're like sitting there and you're like, oh my god. When are you gonna mention it? Right? Like, should I give them 2% or 2.5%? Right? Like, I mean, really, I used to have that too. I used to sit there and be like, do it for free. I think I can do it for 1. You're like counting in your mind, you're like, photos are $3.95. Will I still walk away with a profit at the end? Like, this house is really pretty, so I don't think we're gonna have to do much, right? It's, you guys, like, don't bring it up until they bring it up, and don't worry about it until they bring it up, right? Everything is one step at a time. Hit the bullet points, and then when they bring it up, that's the time to bring it up. Great. What do you charge? Okay. And mine's a little different, right? So I say, hey, if you want our standard package, which is just getting a sign in the yard, photos, no 3D Matterport walkthrough, and things like that, I charge 2%. Whoa. Yeah. So 2% on my side. So I tell them. So what do you give out? We do 5. So I'll do 2.5 on the assist. Be 4.5%. So I'll take 2% on my side. I always give the buyer's agent more than I take with the 2.5%. If I take 2%, because they're working probably a little bit harder than me, honestly, bringing the buyer through the door.
So you said photos and signage?
Yep. So I'll put a sign in the yard. We won't do an open house. I'll take photos for you.
Professional photos.
Yeah.
2%.
2%.
That's standard package, okay?
So it's 4.5%.
Yeah, not basic. It's
Yeah,
standard.
it is
It's
standard.
full service.
Yep. So if you would like me to do more, and I would be glad to do more, right? I'm going to charge a full 5%. I'm going to get 3D Matterport walkthrough. I'm going to do still photos of the house. We will do an open house Saturday and Sunday. That's it. So the only thing I added in there was open house and a 3D Matterport walkthrough.
What do you call that, standard plus?
Basically, like I always tell them it's my more like upgraded package. Now my big package is 6%. I don't have anything between 5 and 6. My 6 is I do Matterport, drone, stills.
What's this stuff?
Stills, just regular photos.
Oh,
Stills. And then I'll also do open houses. I will also send out flyers. Because flyers are expensive, y'all. Like,
yes.
especially in the market where like your coming soon doesn't even hit somebody's door before the house goes live. Because if somebody's like, I need my house listed next Tuesday, I'm like, get the photos out. Like,
So you mean flyers?
coming
postcards,
soon.
or-
Yeah,
Okay. what
coming
about
soon.
The material, marketing material, like, what you call them?
Like jumbo
Brochures.
postcards.
Jesus.
So flyers,
Wow,
so
that
those
took a
are
while.
standard, and I'll always have that. And you want to know why? And this is why y'all are blessed with Drew. Because anybody walking through your open house and stuff, that's your next interview.
Yeah.
Right? So Drew, I printed out flyers on regular print paper when I was a new agent.
Okay.
And Drew was like, what the hell is this?
I did your open house and I threw them in the trash.
Yeah. And she said, Laura, don't forget you are always interviewing with people, right? So that's my interview, right? You come to my open house and I have paper, they're like, oh, she doesn't send nothing, right?
She didn't have paper for long.
I didn't.
I threw them in the trash.
Yeah.
And where that's really key, right, is the seller that lives in the neighborhood that sees what you're doing. to market
Exactly, and that's what he told
When
me.
you're putting out open house signs.
Yeah.
When you're putting up a rider, when you're putting brochures, flyers in the box, when you're putting them in the house, you're auditioning for everyone around.
So videos, photos, you said drones, so like an aerial.
Yep,
like
send
an
aerial
open houses, brochures, and
What about
email
staging?
postcards.
postcards.
Yes.
So staging is a conversation I have with them when we're walking through. I'll say like, hey, this bedroom doesn't have a bed in it. Is there a reason for that? And they're like, no, we just never use it. Would you mind if I bring in a bed? Oh no, that would actually be great. So then when we're in commission talk, we'll be like, so because we talked about staging, I'm gonna start at 5% at least. Right? If it's just one room, because it doesn't cost me a whole lot of money. If it's just
You
a
gonna
bed.
bring the bed?
I bring the bed if it's a bed. I bring the frame and I'll throw on it and I throw a cushion, right?
So you don't do a professional staging
So
consultation? with-
6%. Hey, I noticed you guys have a lot of empty spaces in this house, and I think it would make it so photogenic if we brought in and filled in the spaces. Would that be something you guys are interested in? Oh yeah, I mean, we hardly have furniture in the house, right? Awesome. So when we have the commission talk, hey, we talked about filling in the corners and stuff like that. So that's gonna be a part of my 6% package. I'm gonna bring in a professional stager. We're gonna walk through the house. They're gonna tell you what they think they need to bring in. You're gonna sign a contract with them and I pay them
So you pay the full staging.
6%.
Now, when you're a newer agent that doesn't have a budget for that,
Mhm.
maybe you use your 5% and then, you know, and then they pay for the staging.
So that, I would still charge you guys, new agents, it doesn't matter. You know your worth. 6%.
So your 6% includes staging?
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying if the customer's gonna pay for the staging.
No, this is light stage.
Yeah, like this isn't like a full house. Like I'm not doing a full house staging. If they want a full house staging, we're talking about them paying for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because if it's totally vacant house.
Right.
And it needs, $4,000.
Right. Yeah, if it's an empty house and they want it staged. Yeah.
And as you go through and you start getting more listings, you'll have crap in your garage that you'll stage.
Oh yeah. I have a sofa and like all sorts of
I
stuff.
don't keep.
Yeah,
furniture, but I
the
have
other thing too, you
lots of
guys, is
stuff.
virtual staging is actually really nice these days. Like you find some real companies that do a really good job, and half the time we're staging, unless you have a very small house that needs to be staged because nobody else is going to see past how small the bedrooms are. Virtual staging can do that for you too, and that doesn't cost nearly as much, right? So you find a really good virtual staging company. I haven't used it yet, but I'm surprised by how good some of the photos look, and then I get there and I'm like, wait, the house is empty.
Well, yeah, I
You know?
I don't.
Yeah.
Isn't that like a front office?
No,
it's
so
down.
the biggest thing I say is if you have a bedroom of question as to how small it is, because you know some townhomes, like the bedrooms are so small, if it's empty, you're like, nothing
bucks.
is gonna fit in here, right? Those are the ones that I would say for sure you need to put something in, at least like a box spring like, just so people can see like, oh, that's a full bed box spring. Like, okay, a full bed will fit in here, right? Be like, oh, they're moving, right? Like,
So could you do the tape outline like they do for dead bodies? Like,
Oh,
I would not do that.
That goes-
No, so that would give me dead body vibes, and I don't think I would do that. But yeah, so we're talking about a full house being staged. We're gonna have the conversation of like, I don't know how much it's gonna cost. Let me bring in my stager, and we'll get you a price for what bedrooms are most important for us to get staged, and that way you can pay them directly, right?
So the virtual staging actually takes the size of the room and puts the furniture like.
Yeah, you have to be
size.
careful with the companies, though. Make sure they're doing it right, because you also can get in trouble if there's a queen bed in there and a queen bed ain't fitting in there.
Wow.
So make sure
But
you're
I would
being really
put-
careful.
I've had it done like way early on. I would say that it's virtually staged, so people
Yeah.
understand that and not you won't. Because I've been to houses when I opened the door, I was like, oh shoot, that's the wrong house. And I like back, I was like, no, it's the same number, but like furniture was.
Stage the whole house, you go by the L frames, and
Yeah.
you print the picture off of each room, and you leave it in that room.
Yeah.
So that someone, a buyer can pick it up and look and say,
Oh.
And remember the
Well,
room.
actually, I was gonna say too, so like,
Yeah.
I was showing like a nice house in that green, and then they had the virtual staging on it,
On
like in a frame.
Yep,
Yeah. put it in
on
an
the
L
wall
frame and
or,
put each
like
one
on a
in each
table. Yeah.
room, and that way they can reference.
There's also like some companies are really fancy with it, where they'll give you like a QR code, and you can like print it off for each room, and people can just go up to it and like remember what photo and how it looks.
Print each one and print what size bed it is, what size couch
Yeah.
it is underneath it, make it look like a brochure.
Yeah, there's a
Put it
bunch
in
of
an
different
L
ways.
frame in each room.
Yeah.
And all these small things that we're teaching you now, were things you didn't have to do for the last 2 years, that you're gonna have to
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
in the next year.
Well, that's the thing, right? So I just got a listing. I'm meeting with them when they get back from Florida, which is why I've been mentioning Florida a lot. I had a phone consultation with him, and he basically told me, let's get the ball rolling when we get home, right? And I said, cool, can I send you a listing agreement? He said, yeah. And it was all over the phone. And reason being, two things, right? Please be education-based, right? Never think you know everything. That's one thing. And look at not just real estate, but the economy in general, right? Listen to podcasts, whatever news station you're on, those kind of things. Know what inflation's doing. It's at 9% today. Those kind of things. And no past history, right? So the oil crises of the 70s, anybody know what happened then?
Interest rates went through the roof.
Way up.
What happened in the housing market? Crashed. In the oil crises of the 70s. We went into a recession, but it wasn't a crash. It wasn't a full-on crash. Okay. Hyperinflation of the 80s. Anybody know what happened then? In the 80s? Anybody?
Interest rates were sky high.
They were sky high, but what happened in the housing market? Yeah.
When what?
It didn't hit the floor. It went down, but it didn't hit the floor. Right.
Prices also were
It
tremendously
became
lower
a-
than they are now.
Correct. However, again, when you have inflation and things like that, companies are going to have to adjust with their employees so their employees can live, right? Or they're going to go out of business. Like, it's just one or the other. So what is the worst recession we've seen in the last 30 years?
2008,
Okay.
2009.
Does that always come up?
Not now.
Okay. When it does, are you prepared to talk about it?
Yeah, I mean,
The only reason why I'm going over it, because I'll give you my clothes, but I had this conversation with this guy, right? He had already talked to 4 agents before me. I talked to him and I said, I live in the neighborhood. I'm one of your neighbors. I live down the street. Went through my whole, phone spiel, everything like that. Got his motivation. He wants to move back to West Palm Beach with his family. His family lives there, those kind of things. This was their first house that they purchased. They've never sold a home. He wants to list it around the 700s. He doesn't know what price to land on, everything like that. Conversation. So what do you think the housing market's going to do? Because we're going to buy something in Florida. And I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, obviously you're a millennial. I was like, yes, I am. He's like, so it was really scary in 2008 when like people were like losing their homes and stuff, right? He's like, do you think that's going to happen? He's like, I took it as opportunity. I'm going to make like $200,000 off my house so I can go buy something. I said, yeah, I mean, possibly. And nobody has a crystal ball. I said, but look, hyperinflation of the 80s, housing market didn't crash. Oil crises of the 70s, housing market didn't crash. 2008 was due to fraudulent lending, right?
Yes.
All around.
Yep.
Right. So I don't think it's going to crash unless something crazy happens and feds can't get a hold of the economy and these kind of things, right? But nobody has a crystal ball. But I'll tell you, 2008, I mean, you didn't need a credit score, you didn't need employment, like, you know, those kind of things.
As long as Pulse was being.
Yep. They call them heartbeat loans. You had a heartbeat. And sometimes you didn't even have a heartbeat. Like just saying, right? So I went into a little bit more into depth about like what happened in the 70s and the 80s and percentage of what, you know, housing market dropped and this, that, and the other thing. And I stopped to pause, right? So I was like, oh, I talked a lot. Right? And he goes, that was a really long way of explaining it. Thank you so much. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Did I turn you off completely? And he was like, no. He said, I've talked, and I didn't even know that he had talked to 4 agents before me up until this point. I talked to 4 agents over the last week, and I asked the same question, and they said, it's not going to crash.
Just a flat answer.
Flat answer. It is not going to crash. And I said, no explanation. There wasn't a because. And he said, no. And I said, oh, no. I said, I'm an education-based agent. I said, I've listened to things. I read things all day long. I want to know what's happening in our economy. And I also want to maybe be able to compare it to another time in our economy so that people can stop freaking out when I have a conversation with them when purchasing.
So just to add to that, you guys may want to meet with Rob one-on-one. Those are the conversations we have every 2 weeks on our Wednesday morning and evening Zoom calls.
Yeah.
And we end up having about 45 minutes of conversation about how to talk about the current market of the moment. And then he always refers back to 2008 and why that's different. And so having those conversations with people, Rob follows that economy really well. He's a great person to talk to about that.
Yeah, being education based is going to put you above most people, you guys. Like something you heard and you can reiterate it, write it down and you can reiterate it, like, because it will come up. I mean, there's a reason why people are having those conversations, right? I mean, in 2008, I saw my neighborhood change, right? Everybody, I grew up in a very wealthy, like Microsoft area, right? Both my parents worked, most of the houses in my neighborhood, just one parent worked, right? So there was like Mercedes and BMWs, and all of a sudden 2008 hit and it was like Honda, Toyota, like, you know, everybody traded in their cars and gotten more feasible vehicles. So for millennials who grew up during that time and people who remember that time, it was really scary. Like people didn't know what was going to happen, those kind of things. So those conversations are happening. So stay education based. Please don't think you know everything. Stay humble. I mean, I always tell people like, I don't know everything, right? But I can tell you what I know. And if I don't know the answer, I'm gonna go find it out for you.
Tomorrow, you're working with somebody buying, correct? That's it. And then you end up on a listing presentation. It's an invaluable opportunity to talk to your selling client about how are buyers, what's the buyer psychology? How are buyers?
Right.
How are they determined?
Well, and that's why, so like when we walk through the house, I say, you know, I'm gonna look at the house from a buyer standpoint. We help a lot of buyers, so I just want to walk through the house as to what I would point out to my buyer, and that way I can let you know, so maybe we can fix it if it needs to be fixed, right? Or what a buyer will highlight in the house that they'll actually really like, and those kind of things. I also tell them we work with a lot of buyers, and from personal experience, we are getting closing cost coverage now, right? So when I tell them like, so if the house sits for more than 2 weeks, we may see more offers come in with seller subsidy, which is you helping them with closing costs, right? Again, set the expectation, under promise. Okay. So I want to make sure you all get that. But yeah, so and those are the conversations I'm having, because I literally just put a buyer under contract yesterday. I negotiated at $40,000 under list price. Ooh. I put another buyer under contract 2 days prior to that, and they got $12,000 in seller subsidy. They got all their closing costs covered.
Crazy how it shifted.
Yeah. So
it goes quickly.
have any of you guys actually listened to like Shift and stuff? I'm totally sorry, I'm taking up too much of your time. But if you've listened to Shift and things like that, they say it shifts and it shifts fast.
Very fast.
It's not a gradual. And now you guys can feel it, right?
Yep.
Like all of a sudden it was like everyone through the door, and now nobody through the door, right? Like some open houses, people ain't seeing traffic.
Right.
So that's the biggest
Back to
thing.
pre-COVID.
Yeah. So you got to tell people like when the market shifts, it shifts fast, and we are seeing it, right? Showings are down by 15%. Like, you know, make sure you're showing them data, because then when you go to the pricing, you have way less, right? So my closeout with them is like, I'm so excited, right, to list your house. I cannot wait for us to get your marketing material out because it's so pretty, or we're gonna make it pretty. We're gonna make it pretty. Those kind of things. I'm gonna take the best picture of the inside of your house and post it.
With a BlackBerry.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yep. And and I'm very excited to work with you. Remember, there's no small questions. Make sure you can call me at any time. Those kind of not anytime. You can call me anytime before 6 o'clock.
Not every time.
Yeah, anytime before 6 o'clock. I'm always available by email and text too. If I don't respond back, I do have family, so just know that I'm usually with family. And then, not to end on a bitter note, however, I want to tell you that I've gotten to where I am because of asking questions, right? So say you leave without a signed agreement because you just couldn't get there, right? Because it happens, you just can't get there. And you call them back because follow-up is key. Okay. Follow-up is key. And you call them back, they don't answer, and then a week later you get a call and you say, hey, we really appreciate you coming out, or they did pick up the phone. Really appreciate you coming out, but we did go with a different agent. That's so great. I'm so excited for you to sell the home and get to Florida in 90 days. Is there anything I could have done better to earn your business? I'm an ever learning agent. I just would like to know. And they'll tell you, oh, it was commission. Great. Okay, sounds good. Thanks so much. Do you have any positive things that I did just so that I know? And they'll tell you like, oh my gosh, you were so friendly, or you really gave us the facts or something like that. But if it's just commission, you still didn't do something, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit there and
Or they're
argue with
cheap.
them. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, were they a lot lower than me? You want to know.
So I have two possible listings coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And I already know, like, they already moved
Mhm.
to Texas.
So they're
And
motivated.
So they're motivated, but they're very deep, right? Like, I have not been able to talk on the phone with her. She's just back. I'm very busy. I can't.
That's fine.
And she's like, okay, just go and see it. I already have these other codes, like I have how much they're gonna sell it for me, how much more the commission. If you can be competitive, come and see it. I'll give you the code. And just give me the code. That's it. And I'm
Yeesh.
like, okay.
Did she tell you how much in commission?
Yeah, she told me everything.
Yeah.
So at that point, I still like, I'm gonna go and see the place and then I'm just gonna say, hey, when you have like 2 minutes, I just wanna get on Zoom with you.
Yep.
And talk about it. It's pretty low, like what they're charging them.
So where do you find the value that they're giving versus what you're going to give her?
And you discuss that at the Zoom.
Yeah. So on the Zoom, you always say, okay, great. I saw the house, right? This, that, and the other thing. It looks like X and blah, 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 blah. Be like, awesome. So as far as the commission amount, what are the other agents going to do for you to get your house sold as quickly as possible for the most amount of money?
Mhm.
And if they're like, I don't know, let me tell you what I can do for you.
Mhm.
I mean, literally just providing your value. You guys have a huge amount of value. I mean, you've got that guy, which is good in himself. And then everything that he can give you as far as resources and stuff to make it so that one, it costs you less. So you're spending less of your money to get somebody's house sold. But that way you have guns a-blazing. If there's a rebuttal, you're like, I can do that. I can do that too, right? Half the time they just want to see what you're going to provide for them. So the 1%ers, they're taking cell phone photos normally. They're gonna put a sign in the yard, if that, because y'all, I've been to a lot of listings
It
lately.
might be like one of these.
Yeah. So just make sure when you're having the Zoom phone call, like, what are they providing to you? Because they probably don't know. They probably weren't provided anything. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Gotta have a pretty signpost in the yard, my friends. But other than that, always ask, be humble, right? If they don't, if they don't hire you, it's okay, right? Take it as a learning lesson. No means
Not now.
No.
Not now.
I don't have enough information.
No means next opportunity. No.
No.
Also, they have this thing that in the absence of value, price become an issue.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you show them your value.
Yeah. Stay humble, kill it, get those listings, make sure, hey, those who show up, say it again, those who show up.
Whoa.
Okay, because if you're not in the office, like if you're not out knocking doors, you should be in the office, making phone calls to your sphere of influence. This is the time to double down. The agents that don't show up, not the people who have COVID, the agents who don't show up, literally, you'll be out of the business in 6 months. Everything I've read on shift Agents get out of the business. They go back to their 9 to 5 job. If you show up, being around other people is going to keep you going. It's going to be exhausting. It's going to be tiring when you're losing listing after listing because all these agents don't know how to fight for their commission. They're going to be 1%. And then Musina's going to come in with her expired or Rushan, and they're going to get the listing after that, right? Show up, get on your phone calls for productivity. I still have a coach. I'm not cutting my coaching expenses, nothing like that. That's not the time to do it. It's time to double down, take your market share now, because in 18 months, 16 months, when it comes back up, you're going to ride that wave and you're going to make a lot of money. Cool?
Cool.
Thank you, guys.
We got what you got Wednesday. We're just gonna roll into that. You guys can go to the bathroom, but give me a couple ahas that you got, please. Give me 3, and then we'll roll out. Something that got you, something that hit you. Come on, I know it's something. Say it again, Scott. Yes, she is. Dilara is a really good teacher.
I thought it was great that, look at their personality type and don't necessarily make every listing presentation a 30-minute comps discussion.
Yep. A lot of times, and I don't know if Dilara hit on this because I had to run in and out, is if you ask a person what they do for a living, sometimes you can figure out where they are on the DISC. If you say, hey, what do you do for, I'm a chemical engineer, right? Okay, I'm a lawyer. Right, okay, one more on you.
Ask if they are open to making any repairs versus saying, I suggest or whatever.
Excellent, excellent. Hey, Michelle, her contact info is right there on the wall. Can you see it?
It's kind of hard for me to see. Hold on.
I'll send it out.
425-941-2428.
You got it.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right, guys, so bathroom break, water break, and then meet in the circle for what you got Wednesday. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Those on Zoom, thank you.
All right, thank you. I wish I could be there.
Oh, yeah, what you got Wednesday will be on Zoom today. I will put the laptop in the chair.
Okay, on this one as well?
Yep, this one.
Drew Swirsky. Okay, thank you.
No, this one. Stay here or
Yeah,
come back.
All right, sounds good. Thank you, Drew.